bringing the people behind our food to life.
Do you think you can fit these in there? Probably, yeah. This is a really big order for us, but we do a lot of catering. Yesterday we had a lunch that we did for 3, and today's for 350, so we'll do anything, pretty much anything. I moved to Australia in 2001. I was working in the field of criminology, so criminology to pie. It's been a winding road, but I moved to Australia and was only meant to be there for a year, but met my husband and ended up getting married and lived in Australia for close to 8 years. And then in 2009, we moved to the States. Chris loved meat pies, and once we moved over here, he was just really missing savory pies. Meat pies are really the iconic food of Australia. Everywhere you go, sporting events, schools, gas stations, everywhere you'll find meat pies. But basically he was just missing his pies, and so I started baking pies for him. So I dove into it and researching really old recipes and old techniques, and finally started turning out some really good pies. And our friends and family loved them and said, you know, this could be a business here. Well, from the beginning, Chris and I were really committed to using really, really high quality ingredients. And to us, what high quality means is fresh, whole ingredients that are locally sourced when possible, and from a farming community that we know and trust. We're both very interested in sustainable agriculture, and we were both reading The Omnivore's Dilemma. And Chris was reading the chapter about grass and said, you know what, we've got to use grass-fed meat in our meat pies. So we started researching what areas of the country that would actually be feasible year-round, and came upon Oregon, and we'd been here on holidays a couple of times and loved it. So we packed our car and moved across the country to Portland and started Pacific Pie Company. In 2009, it was just Chris and I. And on the weekends, he and I would go out to farmers markets and sell the pies. Today, we currently have about 36, 37 employees. We operate a busy restaurant, and we also have a large wholesale operation where we supply pies to local food stores and restaurants and cafes. And then we also still do farmers markets. Growing fast has been challenging in a lot of ways. We have had to figure out our supply chain better, because it wasn't just buying 10 pounds of meat here and there from farmers. All of a sudden we need hundreds of pounds of meat. And for certain farmers that was a challenge, because they're small farms and they might only be slaughtering, you know, a couple of animals a week. And so we had to really work with them about how we could get the supply of meat that we needed without putting too much pressure on the farmers. I think, having eaten pies now all over the world, that Australian pies are some of the best. Their pastry tends to be really light and flaky and buttery. That's kind of what makes an Australian pie unique. I think the pastry is super delicious. The crust should be flaky but also tender. And that's a really tough balance to strike, because you can have one and not the other. I worked for a year on our pastry recipe, making every kind of pastry recipe I could find until we struck upon ours. But then, you know, it's one thing to make a batch of pastry in your own home and roll it out by hand and be able to do everything really carefully and precise. To scale that up to make pastry for thousands of pies is a big step. So it was a big learning curve. And we're still learning, because what we found is that our main ingredients, being butter and flour, change throughout the year, which makes sense, right? So the cows are eating different things on pasture, which then translate to different kind of milk and different kinds of butter. Sourcing from farmers definitely complicates things as a business owner. And I mean, there's definitely times when I can see why a lot of restaurants just place that one call to a big food supply company, and they can get everything delivered from their toilet paper to their eggs on one truck.
This is for the kids' sausage rolls with just a little bit milder spicing.
Throughout the year, I probably work with 50, 60 different farmers for different ingredients. We work with a pork farmer, we work with a lamb farmer, we have a beef farmer, we have someone else we get our eggs from, we have a specific guy that I call at a certain time of the year to get quince. The farming community here is so dedicated to what they do. We really love that we can support them. Hi, thanks for waiting.
I'm going to have one of those pulled pork pasties.
Yep, is that for here or to go?
Yeah, for here.
You got it. I love owning a pie shop because pie is such a comfort food for so many people. And our customers are really happy when they come in here and they're happy when they leave. And so just being able to feed people well-prepared, handmade food with real ingredients, I think, is a real gift. In Cornwall, back many, many eons ago, the mining community developed a way to take their leftovers down into the mines for lunch.